There you go.
Thank you, Alex. Geoff, as you can imagine, has achieved the Advanced Communication Gold Award. His speech this morning will be guided by the Let's Get Personal project and the storytelling manual, as Alex brought up. He's been focusing on stories about growing up in Montana in the 50s. Let's welcome Geoff with his speech titled, Where's Bailiff?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and guests. It was at my 50th high school class reunion. During cocktail time, we're all standing around having a drink, and I'm talking with my old buddies from Boy Scouts. One of them is Jack Sherrick, and Jack Sherrick went to engineering school with me, and then he became an engineering manager, and then he became the CEO of a company, but he was always a Boy Scout. And when he retired, he went back into Boy Scouts, and he became like the number two in heading up Boy Scouts in Montana. And as we're talking, he's talking about what the status of Boy Scouts was in Montana, and also we talked about the good old times that we had together. And then Jack is looking at somebody that's walking toward us, and he says, "Hey, where's Bailiff?" And here was Bill Bailiff was walking toward us, and we hadn't seen him for 50 years since we graduated from high school. And so everyone joined together, "Where's Bailiff?" Our wives didn't know what was going on. What is that? So we told them, well, that's what we said when we realized that we had left Bill Bailiff 3 miles behind in the roughest, toughest country in Montana on a 50-mile hike. In 1956, this summer, we were all on the Boy Scout camp staff. And they didn't have enough money to pay us anything for it, so they said, what we'll do for you is we'll take you on a 50-mile hike through the Pintler Primitive area in western Montana. It's the Anaconda mountain range, and it's the roughest, toughest country probably in all the United States. There were 25 of us. 4 of them were leaders, and 21 of us were scouts on the camp staff, and we had 2 pack horses. Well, the first 2 days were really hell. We had these World War II backpacks, and everything was World War II surplus stuff, and it was really bad, and our shoulders were getting eaten into, and we're running 7-8 miles a day, and it was killing us. There were blisters and a lot of bitching. But then after about 3 days, we started to become really hardened scouts. And on the 4th day, we were walking along in a mountain valley, and we were behind the lake that we needed to get to. I don't know how I can't remember how exactly we got behind so much, but it was getting dark, and it was raining. And the scoutmasters didn't know where we were on the map. So we stopped, and we took off our backpacks, and they selected a scouting team of 6 guys, 2 leaders and 4 scouts, and they were to walk up to the top of the ridge. It was 1,000, 1,500 feet high through rough country with lots of downed trees to get up there to get a reference to find out where we were, because at that time we didn't want to be too far and go past where we're supposed to go. And so they went up. One of them was Bill Bailiff, was with the crew that went up there. And they were to go up and meet and then come back down. Well, we're there in the rain, and we just wanted to get on, and finally the scoutmaster came out of the forest into the clearing and said, "It's that way, we know where we are. It's just a mile and a half down this road, down this path, and then we have to take the switchbacks up over the ridge and back down to the other side where the lake is." Well, we made it over there. And now it was getting darker, and we were setting up camp. It was raining. I could see on that lake, I can remember the wind blowing, the ripples across there with wind and the rain coming down. And then somebody said, "Where's Bailiff?" And we thought, oh my God, everyone thought at the same time, we had left him behind. And now it was getting darker, and so the scoutmaster called us all together, and he was sort of in a bind here. He'd lost a scout in the roughest country in Montana. And it was getting dark. And so we decided what to do. It didn't make any sense for all of us to go back and look for him, so they thought they'd have a small group that would go back and look, but then maybe we'd lose them or whatever. So there were risks. And then somebody said, hey, you know Geoff Chance is on the cross-country team and on the track team, and he can go 2.5 times faster than we can walk. And so it was decided that I would run off and look for Bill Bingham. So I put on my windbreaker that I had. It wasn't waterproof, it was just a windbreaker. I had a flashlight, and I had shoes that I wore around camp, which were canvas, Converse, tennis shoes. And I went running up the side of on the switchbacks up the top of the hill, and every 200 yards, hey, bailiff! And I got up to the top along the ridge. Hey, bailiff! And then I ran down the switchbacks all on the other side and got down to the bottom. And then I knew it was a mile to a mile and a half to the clearing. And I was running down there. And finally I got toward the clearing, and it was totally dark now. And I saw a flicker off a great big granite boulder. And when I came around that boulder, I was just startled what I saw. I don't know what I expected, but there was Bill Bailiff, and he had a pile of firewood about this high. And he had a fire that was about this high, and it was right in front of this 12-foot high granite boulder, and the light was reflecting off, and he had his tent was set up, and he was inside his tent rolling out his sleeping bag. He was ready to spend forever there. So we got together, and on the way back, I asked him what had happened. And he said, well, I got up to the top, and we met, and we came down, and then I got into the heavy, heavy timber, and I had to go over trees and under trees and around trees, and when I got back, everyone was gone. Well, there were cheers when we came into camp. Meanwhile, or after that, back at the reunion, Jack Sherrick said, you know, I have told that story to hundreds of times, to hundreds of Boy Scouts, and there's such a moral there. And so at the end, I always asked him, I said, and so if you're lost from the group, what do you do? And the Scouts would always say, we'll stay right where we are. And then we all talked about how lucky we were that we found Bill Bailiff. We all agreed, and then Jack said, and he said to us, he said, let's have a toast. And he mouthed to all of us. And so we said, where's Bailiff?